So I have two local comic book creators with me today. One is Ben Michael Byrne, who come out now. He creates a book called Cranburn. So Ben, thank you very much. Clap. And the other one is Darren Close, who makes a book called Killaroo. Darren. On another note, Tim, can you come and unlock your computer? Okay, so we have some stuff to show you. Maybe. Okay, so before we start stuff, Ben, can you tell me a little bit about Cranburn?
It's basically a post-apocalypse comic. It's very basically Mad Max, but in the suburbs. I centered it around an area that I'd know, so I based it in Cranburn. So I don't know if you know where Cranburn is? A little bit east of here, yeah? Yeah, so basically I took my beloved hometown and I blew lots of it up. I killed off most of the characters, and it's, Mad Max in the suburbs.
Now, you started off as a webcomic.
Yes. I couldn't find any big publishers to give me lots of money, so I put it on the web, and then a publisher approached me and said, I want to give you money, and I said, I will allow that.
So now you're publishing the comic.
Yes.
Is there a difference between the experiences in doing it, like in terms of scheduling, or any other differences between the web comic and the actual printed comic?
Probably a little bit of difference with the writing, because with the webcomic, I knew it was going to be one page per week, so I had to try and make sure that the page was interesting, because people could really dissect it. Whereas if you've got a 40-page comic, they can just sort of chew right through it, So I think the writing I do tweak a little bit depending on what I'm doing. Now that I know it's being printed again, I have sort of started writing a lot more with the print version in mind.
Okay. Now, on the screen here is the Cranburn page, and it's still available to read online?
Yes, and your device is ready to use.
Okay. Now, Darren, can you tell me a little bit about Killaroo?
Yeah, Killaroo is, everyone know Tank Girl? Yeah? The character Booger, kind of similar to that.
Now, this is a character you've created,
Yep.
But unlike Ben's Cranburn, where he does everything, you've got some other people involved, don't you?
Yeah, I like to work with a lot of the best artists in Australia. Generally, I'll write a story and work with them on a comic. And when they're finished, I publish them. I put them on the Facebook page, which is just there. So
Now, you've got some stuff here. So we've got a bit of a progression for a Killaroo page. So can you explain what's happening?
Sure. This is a sample page from one of the scripts that I provided to the artist that was Paul Abstruse. And basically I'm just breaking down what happens on the page in each panel. There's no dialogue on this particular page, but just describing what it is that I want him to draw. And on the next slide, these are the results. That's what he came up with.
So he's just taken the script and drawn this. He hasn't spoken to you or worked with you at all. He's just gone straight off the script.
No, well, he's done a lot of comics before, so he pretty much knows what he needs to do. So, yeah.
But this isn't the finished result, is there?
The first result?
This isn't the finished result.
No, that's the pencil stage. The next stage is inking it. Basically, I would take printouts of the pencils that he'd done, print them out in blue, and then ink over the top in black. We do it that way because when we scan it back in Photoshop, you can drop away the blue and it just leaves the inks.
Now, so you're not using his original pages. You're making a copy of his pencils
That's
and
right.
inking on top.
Yep.
Okay. Now then you put that into Photoshop and...
Yeah, just add some computer toning for this one. It was only going to be printed in black and white, so just add a bit of depth and shading to it with different shades of grey, and then lay the lettering over the top, and then it's pretty much ready to go in the book.
Now, you've also got a cover here.
Yeah, this is a cover image I basically described. I don't have a written description. I basically just called Paul up and I said, I want a big explosion at the back, a couple of motorbike riders with guns, and Killaroo front and centre. And that's sort of the layout that he came up with, and I gave him the go-ahead to produce the finished art. And then we did put it in and put some colour on it.
So you've also got some other work here.
Yeah, this is from an upcoming Killaroo story, basically telling his origin. As you'd expect, sort of genetically engineered in a lab, and just sort of starting out with the grown Killaroo, and it's kind of his recollection of those events. And that's coming out in a new book in November.
This is not Killaroo.
No, it's not. This is just some of my own artwork that I threw in.
So you're not just a writer, you also do art.
Yep. Yeah, we all know Spawn. And a bit of Spider-Man as well.
Now, with your art, that's probably a good chance to talk about Oz Comics.
Sure. Well, what we did, what I found was getting back into my own artwork was I tried to challenge myself to draw a new picture every week. And I thought, well, if I can do that, everyone can do that, including Ben. Ben's added a few entries. It's nearly a year this has been running, so if you just go to ozcomics.com, there's a new challenge every week. So if there's any artists in here that want to have a go, just log on, email through your artwork, and just goes up on the Facebook page there for everyone to see.
Okie dokie.
Now, what is this the start of?
The editor of Futurequake comic, it's an anthology comic in Britain. He usually gives you about 3 months to do a cover, but his artist who was supposed to have done it buggered off to Spain, so he gave me like a 24 hours notice. He said, because the story I illustrated, I didn't write it, but I illustrated, was going to feature in that issue anyway, so he said, can you quickly do a cover based on that story? So, and this is just basically a step-by-step. I don't know if you've ever heard of Jeff Darrow. He illustrated Hard Boiled. He did the concept art for most of the Matrix. So all the machinery and technology you see in the Matrix movies came from him. Basically, I'm a real big fan, so I tried to go for the uber detail, and I just did a step-by-step. So, flat colours, and then the final one. Beep. There we go.
Now, unlike Darren, you don't work on pencil and paper with inks, do you?
Near.
So why is that?
I'm very sort of choppy changey. I like to continuously erase what I do, and I found that all the paper I used to work with pretty much always got torn up. I just made a big mess of it. With digital, I'm allowed to take a lot more chances. If I'm not sure if something's going to work or not, I just put it on a new layer. Then if it sucks, I can just delete it. I mean, if it's smelly.
So we've got a couple of pages here. Is there just, if you want to talk about either of them, let me know.
Yeah, this is the first page of something that's going to be appearing in Terror number 3. That's page 2 of it. You can't really hear. See, it's a big blob.
So how do you work with so much detail on the page?
Just bit by bit, take your time. Just keep at it, sort of thing. You can sort of take some shortcuts, like here, the blood that's issuing forth from the beasties sort of saved me a few hours, but otherwise, yeah, you just got to draw it, really.
I like that. I think it's a great effect, and for you, it looks cool, but it's saved me 2 hours.
Yes. There's prints of that one, actually, coming up later. This is something I'm currently working on. I'm not the writer. The writer's a chap who writes for Metro Magazine in Sydney. Metro Magazine. I'm not sure if he wants to be anonymous yet or not, so I'm not saying his name. But But yeah, basically, it's a nice challenge trying to make a like 180 kilo chap look dynamic. So here he is in a spaceship about to stop the priest from trying to transmogrify into the baby. And I didn't bring the next page because I was told to keep it PG. But the next page is a whole bunch of sexy nuns, very similar to the Hitman trailer you just saw. So he beats the crap out of them. Oh, and this is the robot whose face was. Yeah, so he sticks it, and that's the front cover of Cranbourne #1 without the title. There's a lot of detail there. It's a bit, yeah, but yeah. Cranbourne #3. I didn't bring #2. And that's the upcoming #4. That issue doesn't come out until September. So that's a sneak preview, world exclusive. Whee! Can you feel it? That's an interior page. That's probably not going to come out for another year. So that's about a year away. I'm actually currently working on issue 6. Issue 3 doesn't come out till September, but I'm also already working on issue 6. So that's a jar with a couple of ears in it that have been taken off another character, and they're basically letting them know, like, we have your friend's ears. So it's a bit naughty. I don't know if anyone's here's old enough to read it.
Okay, so that sort of is that part of the presentation. Now we wanted to sort of briefly talk about. We'll open it up to questions where you can ask for advice or feedback or anything like that. But let's talk about reading comics for a bit.
You use your eyes, Liam.
You've both brought books that you recommend people read. Do you want to grab those? Does anyone read comics here? Okay, I'm liking that.
Oh, I can hear all those crickets.
There were some hands. So what sort of stuff? Is it just sort of Marvel and DC superhero stuff, or? Image, okay.
One of the men who illustrates Star Wars is in Melbourne every month for drinks, Colin Wilson. And the guy who writes it, his wife works with my wife or something, or his friend.
Well, why don't you tell the people about the comics meetup? Yes?
Every month, the first Saturday of every month.
So they all meet up and talk comics and drink and all that sort of stuff. But you've got your suggestion of what you think people should read. If they were going to read one comic, they would read...
Transmetropolitan. It's got a real big name and it makes you feel fancy when you read it at the bus stop.
So what's it about?
It's kind of hard to pinpoint. That's why I like it. It's a very broad sort of thing. I don't really like superhero comics, but I like it, and I know other people who only read superhero comics and they like it. It's just a bit... That's the one, yes.
Woo!
That's all
Endorsed by Jason.
Yes, he's just a real narcissistic, angry dude who just does whatever the hell. You know, he's a journalist and he's angry. But it's just a very clever. It's in this sort of future city where there's just 1,000 different ideas on every page. It's just a really entertaining, fun, just good comic, really.
Darren, you've also got a book.
Yeah, I brought in Batman: The Dark Knight Returns.
Now, surely some of you have read this.
Anyone? No?
No one is.
Couple over there.
One or two.
It's basically a future Batman story where he's been in retirement for several years, and he comes back out of retirement. Essentially, it's set up. Essentially, is meant to be the final Batman story. By Frank Miller.
You guys know who Frank Miller is. Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, it's just probably the best comic I've ever read, so highly recommend that one.
So I brought I got told off for bringing more than one from these guys, but I brought 3 comics that none of them are really superhero, just to give you an idea of other stuff. Because I'm sure you all know that you can find great Batman stories, you can find great Spider-Man stories, and all that, but there are other stuff. Bone. This is basically the most amazing fantasy epic story ever. I think in total it's over 1,000 pages. It's not like Lord of the Rings, but not as much of a slog, not as much backstory. Fables, which is if storybook characters were real and sort of hiding from the general populace, and what would happen in their community. I don't know if any of you saw Once Upon a Time, that TV show. It's kind of like that, but good. This is Pride of Baghdad. This is a standalone graphic novel. It's about the Pride of Lions who escaped from the Baghdad Zoo during the recent War on Terror, and what happens to them. Which you think would be, it's animals, but we might be able to get a shot on the cameras. Let's see if we can get that one. Maybe. Looking at you, Peter. The reason I'm trying to show you is just it is amazing and beautiful colors. Okay, let's. And Andrew saves the day. So yeah. Well, it's by an author called Brian K. Vaughan, who's does some great stuff. But now that we've got that out of the way, I'll ask one more question, then we'll open to the audience. If any of these students wanted to write or draw comics, what should they do?
Do it. Honestly, just go out there and do it. You know, the best thing you can do is do what you want to do. If you sort of talk about it, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Your best bet is just do what you want to do, and then you can sort of show people, look what I've done. Like, it's just, if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, pretty much what Ben said is if you've got a drive to make comics and you really like reading comics and you think you can do a story of your own or you've got a story to tell, then just start it. It doesn't matter if it's a bit amateurish to start with. You'll get better with practice. You just do another page and then another page, another page, another page, another page. Just keep doing it.
Okay, some good advice there, people. Now, anyone have any questions they want to ask these guys?
I've actually got some Killaroo comics to give away to anyone who asks a question.
All right. I'll go Jesse next because he always asks a question. He did have his hand up first, but Joel, you happen to be here.
What's your favorite book, comic book, and volume?
Comic book and volume, what's your favourites, I guess?
Probably my all-time favourite comic would be 2000 AD. It's the comic where Judge Dredd was first appeared in. That movie coming out soon. I've been reading it since I was like grade 4 or something. And it's very good because it's an anthology. So every issue has like 4, 5, or 6 different stories. So there's always something in there that you're going to enjoy, and it's pretty violent, like compared to like if you're used to reading superhero comics and then you see what Judge Dredd does to people when he says stop, and if they don't, he doesn't Captain American smack him in the head. He just boop, yeah. Yes. And volume, the mid 90s. I'm not sure what volume that would be, but yeah, about the mid 90s was really, really juicy.
I think for mine, I've always been a big fan of Todd McFarlane, who created Spawn. And I was basically getting into comics when he was doing Amazing Spider-Man. Number 300, the first appearance of Venom, I think, would probably be my favourite comic. I'm not sure what volume. Volume 1, I think, Amazing Spider-Man 300.
Hi, I'm writing my own graphic novel / picture book at the moment. I'm just curious. I know you mentioned before about just doing it. I've got to that stage where I've basically written it. How do I get that to the world now so as bring out, publish it, and so on?
Okay, so have you drawn it as well, or is it just the writing? Okay.
I've written it and I've drawn it all by scratch.
Great. Put it online. If you've got a Facebook page, you can create a Facebook page, upload your artworks on each page to that, and tell your friends about it, and how they'll tell their friends about it. You can also use deviantart.com, upload all the artwork to that. That's probably the easiest time that I can remember to get your artwork out on a global level, because everyone's got Facebook, everyone's got the internet. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, I was Or also you could send it off to a bunch of publishers. Like, you know, there's all the addresses that are available. See which ones are taking solicitations and just cold send it to them. You in all honesty, like, I think comics can be a lot like books in that for every 100 things you send off, you'll only hear from 5 of them, and 4 of them will be saying, I hate you, I hope you die, and the 5th one will say, no. But you really can't let that happen. You know, Stephen King got told to bugger off 50 million times before he got yes, so don't let that crush your spirit. Stay strong, man. Stay strong. Sorry.
No, that's all right.
Well, in terms of drawing and just creating comics, I guess, how long have you been practicing drawing, and how much, in terms of dedication, how much do you need? Because whenever I've tried to create comics, like pages and everything, but I just find it very difficult to, I guess, plan out the panels, and sometimes I get discouraged, and I just, like, guess I go off. So can you give any advice on that?
Well, you're certainly on the right track. I guess, I don't know about you, Ben, but I've had more than my share of people that told me to quit and give up, or that I was no good, or the story or the character was crap, or any of that. And basically, the first one you should be doing it for is yourself.
Because one of the parts, the dedication is, if it's your passion, you should really, you need a lot of dedication. But if you're enjoying it, it doesn't really matter. Like, I have a 2-year-old, and I'm the stay-at-home parent because my wife is much better educated than me, so she earns more money, so she brings home the bacon. Daddy stays home and cooks the bacon. But I have a 2-year-old, so I'll just be getting into the flow, like, oh, this is a great page, I'm having so much fun. And that's when she walks up and goes, ha ha, hey. So, it really takes you out of the moment. But you change the nappy, you give her some food, you sit her in front of the TV and ignore her for a few hours, and you go back to the drawing board. Don't ignore the child, that's bad, I shouldn't do that. And you should always have a fence around your swimming pool, yes.
Was there any defining moments throughout your life that really inspired you to create comics? And if so, was that also something that inspired you to create the comics that you have created as a motivation?
I think for me personally, basically I met a bunch of friends that were also into comics, and one of them was Damien Shanahan, who was quite interested in making his own comics. I didn't really have any ambition to make comics at that stage, but I saw what he was doing, and it gave me a direction to focus my artwork on. If you've got friends that are artistic as well, then just band together and basically, I'm a bit broken for words. Ben, what do you think?
Oh, it's a batting race. Dun, 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 dun.
Don't dance ever again.
You can't stop me, I'm up here.
Just don't swear.
I've been very, very lucky in that I've always wanted to draw. It's been my absolute, even before I was old enough to read, when my mother would go to the newsagents, back when newsagents were still fairly big hubs of comiciness. Now they're all dying off. Boo-hoo. First world problems. And I'd be like, so I had comics even before I could read. I've always loved them. I've always wanted to draw. Sort of the writing came secondary because I needed things to draw, so I'd write scripts so I could then draw them. But I mean, I've always wanted to do it. But if I had to have a thing that sticks out in my childhood, I remember going to a school fete with my cousin, and I got a show bag, and inside was issue 666 of 2000 AD, and that was when I first saw Judge Dredd, and it was so different from all these American comics. It was this British thing, and it was crazy and violent, and that's when I went from I like drawing to I like drawing sequential artwork. I want to tell stories. I don't just want to do pin-ups. I want to actually, there's a guy standing on top of a mountain going, ooh, but I want to know why is he going up the mountain? What happens after that? About 8 years old was when I said, I don't just want to draw, I want to draw comics.
I think we may have to wrap it there, unfortunately, guys. I'm hearing myself feedback. But please I know, a lot of questions. No, I can't, we can't. We've got to run out of time. But the guys will be down the back later.
We'll be down here. I think it's during the...
About 4 o'clock.
Yeah. So they'll be able to take some questions. If you have any artwork you want to critique or advice, just straight down the back towards New Game Plus area.
Thank you.
Guys, Ben Michael Byrne, Darren Close.